I wanted to do a video about whether or not we can see each other authentically. So, when we were growing up, people were reacting to what they viewed of us. And oftentimes they would say that or let us know that they liked something or that they did not like something. And Teal Swan talks about how we were fragmented because we started to hate or push away the stuff that people did not like in order to fit in. I'd agree with that. And so we are not completely authentic because we have not really integrated those parts back into ourselves yet at this point. But it should be one of our goals to do, I think. A lot of people are not really paying attention to that. But I guess because of that, when you see somebody, they're not really showing you their whole self because they're afraid that you won't like those things that they've pushed away, or it's not something that you're even consciously aware of. A lot of the times it's just habit by now, and something we think of ourselves as just not being that person. Oftentimes we don't even accept it. I've had anger in the past, but for the most part I'm pretty peaceful. And I think like one of my issues is that I have to accept the fact that I get angry. Yes, sometimes I do get angry, and it's not often the way that people normally do, um, because I am so peaceful. I am so understanding of things, but that's something that people don't really get to see. And so that's one thing: people don't get to know you online in so many ways, and people can have a version of you in their head that is completely unrelated to the actual you. So why, so many people can meet up and then they have this version of what happened, and it doesn't relate to how they thought it would go. Um, People have different versions of things that have happened because they just have different perceptions. They have different things that they focus on. Everything that you see is going through your eyes. However, your brain is what is calculating this is important, that is not important. And so your brain, what you think of what you see, has already been filtered through your beliefs about what's important and what's not important. And so when we see other people, this is why people say love is blind, right? Um, so when somebody looks at somebody else and they, quote unquote, fall in love at first sight, they're seeing something in that person and they're ignoring things that are not what their brain is saying is important to them. And other people, like friends, may be like, yeah, I didn't see that working out because of this, that, and the other. Whereas the first person, who's dealing with this is like, oh, I didn't see that. Now I see total red flags where I did not see them before in relationships. Thanks to the drama triangle, it really helps in that respect. But so I've got a different perception of what is important for me to be, figuring out and thinking about when interacting with people. And so I'm coming from a different perspective than I did even just 5 years ago. And so we all have different, we can see the exact same event as even our 5 year ago self did. But we would come up with different things. We would see different things. That's why you can watch a video and re-watch it a couple of years later and come up with a completely different perception of what was just said. So we're constantly filtering what we're hearing and what we're seeing by what we think is important at the time. Even smelling and tasting. We've got different ideas of what is important to pay attention to. And perhaps that's why we all have different tastes of what we like and dislike in some ways. But anyway, so we're not often fully integrated and authentic ourselves. So if somebody is talking with us, who are they talking to? Are they talking with the fully integrated, self, or are they talking about this person? This is who you think you are, but you've forgotten about this stuff. And so Are they really getting to know the authentic you? You think they are, but they're not. This is why, relationships can come together and have a honeymoon phase when they both, are love is blind, and they see the two parts coming together, but they don't see the extraneous stuff that those people didn't even know existed. But it comes up. And so I want to talk about hyperreality too. James Lindsay did a video. I'll leave a link below. But there's this idea that the map is not the territory. People have these views of how things are going, and reality is going to catch up with them. So if you have a view, what's a good view? If you have a view that the economy is going to be completely stable, that it's doing really well right now, and inflation is not going to happen, inflation's not happening, or if you had a view that, the truckers in the US won't strike, they aren't going to do the caravan that they're doing in Canada, right? Hypothetically, if that was your view, you would not stock up on food. You think everything is perfectly a-okay, food prices are not going to rise in the future, and we're not going to have supply chain issues, etc. You're going about your day. And hypothetically, if something happened and we all of a sudden had a shortage in supply, reality would catch up with you. So you can have a view that everything is going great, and then reality catches up, and you find out, no, it's not. Adults who have some children, parents, have had this view that the teachers were doing the right thing for their children, right? And then in 2020, they found out, wait, you're teaching my child what? When they started listening in on the classroom sessions, right? And so they had this view, and then reality is catching up with them. Like, wait a second, what are you doing? A child coming home and saying, like, am I evil for being white? And the parent's going to be like, what the heck just happened, right? So we've got this reality is crashing in around us. People have built their, house upon the sand in this hyper reality, and they think that this is the reality. They think the hyper reality is the reality. And then they find out, wait, nope, there's an actual reality here. So with an example of Google Maps, you could look at a map and say, oh, that looks like a park. I should go bike to go see the park this summer. And you bike there, and then you find out they paved it. It's a parking lot for the store next door, and that's the reality. So the map is not the territory. You can think that the map is the reality, and you can plan based on that hyper reality, right? That you think is reality, but reality actually catches up with you at some point. So you can't build your house upon the sand. You got to build it upon the rock, right? And so that's a great understanding. And so we have to look for what is true, what is reality, what is the same for you and I, where can we stand on this common ground? And so past relationships that didn't work with me, it's because we did not have the same reality. Like, they were viewing me through the lens of their stuff that was not real. It was their projections onto me. And I wanted to live in reality. I wanted the truth. And so there's so many times when people just put people into boxes, and they think that that's, you say something on Twitter, and, you get like a lot of people coming in the comment section thinking you said this, that, or that. And it's like, that's not what I said. But everybody is just reading into it their own perspectives. And it's frustrating. So even if you were your total, whole, authentic self and integrated everything, and this is what you are projecting into the world, they're still going to place their own projections onto you. So they're not seeing you for you. And this happens in relationships. And it's probably often the cause of why, after the honeymoon phase of a relationship is over, people break up, because they're like, wait, I thought you were this person. There's a lot of people who are having trouble in their relationships because of what's going on in the world. And people have different beliefs, different core values. They value freedom, or they value safety. And these are clashing, with married couples. One person wears a mask in bed and he's like, well, the other person won't, And so there's these clashes. Like, what is important to you? Is it important to be free, to breathe freely, or is it important to feel safe? Where is your value? And people are clashing over these things. And that's the truth, again, is hitting. So you could think of it like the tower card in tarot, where there's that tower and the lightning is striking it. And if it wasn't built upon a solid foundation, it's just going to fall over. It's like the Tower of Babel, it's just over because you can't agree on reality. The Tower of Babel was where people were speaking with one reality, one language. And they came together with one language to build this tower. And then all of a sudden, God confused the languages and they're all misunderstanding each other. And we've got this stuff going on right now. The term anti-vaxxer, somebody could say, I'm not anti-vax because I actually got the vaccine. I've got many vaccines. I'm not anti-vax, but I am anti-mandate. And this is totally making sense to this person saying this, right? But then you got this person coming in and say, no, the dictionary says anybody who is anti-mandate of vaccines is anti-vax. So you're an anti-vaxxer. We cannot agree on words and what they mean. What does immunity mean? Well, they changed the definition over the last couple of years. So they changed the definition of anti-vaxxer, they changed the definition of vaccine, they changed the definition of herd immunity, and there's people out there who still believe what the definition of woman or man or vaccine or anti-vaxxer means. I've asked people, what does anti-vaxxer mean? And they don't ever respond to me. Like, what is the definition? What was the original definition? It's not an unreasonable question. We don't have the same language anymore. We're all using words that don't really mean the same thing anymore. Somebody called me a Trump supporter, and because I was anti-Biden, right? I was like, yeah, Biden, molested some children on camera, hands all over them. And they called me a Trump supporter. And I was like, no, I didn't vote for him. I voted for Joe Jorgensen. And I'm more libertarian. I really don't like that Trump was promoting the vaccine personally. And so they have these labels that they place upon you. And then they just say, because of this, you're that label. And because you're that label, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say on anything anymore. So this is the dehumanization of people that's happening, which is a major problem. But my main point with that was the Tower of Babel is people have these different words and meanings, and we're not speaking the same language anymore. Everybody's got like this hyper reality version of what a word means. I mean, even anti-racism is racism. It is, against white people in many ways. And if you are against white people, obviously you're racist. Except they changed the definition of racist like 3 times in the last month, the ACLU or something. And the last one was a provisional definition. So we're seeing our language being scattered right now, and we can't agree on what words mean. And so it's a frustrating time. Like, how are you even going to have a conversation with somebody? A lot of the times people are arguing about something when they might actually agree, but they have different definitions of terms, and you'll never know it because they're never asking each other, well, what do you mean by this word? I've had conversations with that on Twitter about forgiveness. I have a completely different version of the word forgiveness than other people do, and I understand that. I mean, I use the definition from the dictionary because I try to have a common, conversation with people, but a lot of people don't have the same word. They think forgiveness is something about like going to the person and, physically verbally saying, I forgive you, where that doesn't That's not anything to do with what forgiveness is, because you can forgive somebody who's dead. You don't have to go to the body and say, I forgive you. And so we all have different beliefs and understandings of what words mean, which makes it very difficult to have conversations. It's kind of funny that people can have conversations with each other, and then, here I am talking to you, and you might not even understand what I'm saying from the perspective that I'm trying to put out, even though I'm trying to be clear. We all have different understandings of what different words mean. And so that's very frustrating. It makes it difficult to have authentic conversation, to actually have a relationship built in the truth. And, even in my romantic relationships, I feel like, I felt at first like, oh, he really understands me. He really gets me, whereas other people didn't get me, right? And then I find out, wait, no, his perception is built on his past. And then I felt like, wow, I was actually being gaslit, but not on purpose. See, gaslit is supposed to be on purpose to make you feel crazy. He actually believed what he was saying. And so there's a difference there. And I want to point that out because a lot of people use it incorrectly. I do think that there are people gaslighting legitimately right now for a purpose, to make people crazy and not believe their reality, or to demonize people who have a different view of their reality. But most people, they tend to use it when somebody just said something that is totally untrue, but that person actually believes it. So if that person believes it, it's not that they're trying to gaslight you, it's just that that's their reality. That's their perception of things, and that's why they said it. So, we have to understand that we have different perceptions of the same event. And so, but even I was mentioning my romantic relationship because I am concerned, or I don't know, just thinking about this idea is just how many people in relationships actually understand the other person, actually get them. I think that if you are in a relationship with somebody for a long period of time, where you are physically interacting with each other, you're going to get to know the other person a lot better than somebody who's only interacting with you online. But I don't know that you can get there perfectly, because everybody is still trying to heal themselves, or not, or they're blame shifting and, scapegoating. But in other words, they are not 100% authentic themselves. So how are you going to know their authentic self? And we've all got these perceptions where you can say like, oh, my husband, this is my husband, but I don't see him as a brother. Whereas, he's got a sister who sees him as a brother, right? We're not seeing from all those perspectives. Source is seeing, God's source is seeing us all from all these various different perspectives. We're like the eyes of source, all viewing this world from an infinite amount of perspectives, because your perspective of things has changed from before you started watching this video. So every single minute, we're actually changing our perspectives. So it's not just that we have a unique perspective as a person than somebody else does, but we've got a unique perspective that's changing over time. It's infinite, all the different perceptions and perspectives that we've got in this world that are going on right now simultaneously. And that's great, but great for God. But what about us and trying to interact with each other in an authentic way? And I don't think that there's a way that we can have complete, authentic relationships with each other. We don't see other people from all the different perspectives. We don't, there's certain things that some people don't ever tell another person. Thoughts, nightmares, there's lots of parts of a person that they don't share with even the most intimate relationships. And so I guess I don't have an answer to that. I have a question, do you think that we can ever really authentically relate to each other? It's a great idea. It's a great desire to do that. The number one thing in order to do that would be to integrate every part of yourself to understand yourself. Do you understand yourself? Because I think there's still parts of me I don't understand, where they're coming from. And how can I share that with somebody else if I don't understand it myself? And then we've got these projections, these ideas where we put a role onto another person and we don't see them outside of that role. And things we don't like about ourselves, we project onto other people. I mean, the dog was barking while I was trying to make this, and I was getting frustrated, like, why are you interrupting this? But I'm the one who said yes to taking care of the dogs in the first place. I'm the one who could have made different decisions of when I made the video. They're less likely to bark at night, for instance. I could take responsibility for that and stop blaming them. The reason I got upset is because I didn't want to take responsibility for my part in why the situation was what the situation was. So we are all, we're liable to project at times, I guess, to not always take full responsibility for what's going on in our lives. And I'm just not sure that we can ever really have those interactions authentically, completely. Definitely can get better than what we're doing right now. I'm happy that the people in the hyper reality are going to see that hyper reality crash once they have to face reality, the real reality, so that we can all be on common footing again. And the reason how people are so polarized in this world right now is because they don't see reality. They're seeing a projection. If you look at the news, the TV news, there's like one version of the truckers as being racist up in Canada, right? But if you actually look at the live streams and the actual reality, you'll see that no, there's people from all sorts of different ethnicities there, and they're all loving, and not all. I mean, like, there might be plants, who are trying to make it look bad so that the media has something to report on. However, you have the option to look at the live streaming thing. Like, I don't really care so much for Trump. Like I said, I'm not a Trump supporter. But I was watching his live stream videos because I was just getting so annoyed at the media's framing of the situation. And I just wanted to see the real reality, right? And that's not even the real reality, because it's still, through the lens of whoever is videotaping it. But it's a lot closer. I know that we can get a lot closer to being authentic, the real reality. Live streaming is great for that, for news purposes. Being in person with another person is great for that versus online. If you see somebody online, remind yourself that you're not seeing the whole person, that you are seeing a projection through your own beliefs about that person, but also that person is going to be projecting, what they feel is the best thing to project at that time, but they're not going to be sharing, the not so hot moments, right? So, like, people do social comparison with others online and they think, oh, those people have the best life. And they don't realize all the negative things that are going on in their life that they're not posting online. So that's like that hyper reality on social media. Yes, I do agree, on social media we've got this hyper reality thing going on, and people aren't seeing the true people. That doesn't mean that people can't, and that people can't discuss things in chats in that sense. But I don't know that we can get down to 100% authenticity, 100% real reality. because again, the people are still finding themselves, you're still finding you, and we're trying to interact without these lenses, our beliefs, that's clouding our views about the real reality. And so I guess I'll probably end this now, but I'll leave links below to Teal Swan's video on overlays, because we're definitely using overlays with people these days. I know that we're boxing people in with labels and dehumanizing people based on their beliefs. And also the link to James Lindsay's video about the hyper reality. And I'll leave the question, do you think we can actually get to that, or really close to 100% authentic conversations and relationships with people? In person is probably best, I understand, but do you think that it's possible in person? Because I'm still not sure that it's possible there. Anyway, leave your thoughts below. If you like the video, like it, and subscribe if you're not. And thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day.